White Lake Township man who fatally shot a burglar is charged with manslaughter. And this was a case that happened months ago. Months after a homeowner fired shots at several individuals breaking into his detached garage in White Bear Lake Township. This is in Michigan, just outside of Detroit. The 24-year-old resident has been charged with manslaughter, assault, and 2 other felony counts. The gunfire struck 2 people, killing a 17-year-old. Dayton Knapton was arraigned on Friday and given a $200,000 cash surety bond for the 4 felony charges. 5 others, including 4 juveniles, were also charged in the case of attempted burglary. Okay, here's the backstory. This is how it originally played out. Early in the morning on July 8th, a homeowner was alerted by a motion detector that had been set off in his garage. He exited his home, and after hearing noise, he allegedly fired 2 rounds before ordering those inside to get out. Afterward, the individuals inside exited the garage, and then he fires the weapon several more times. So here's the first problem. He walked in his garage. They were not a threat to him at that time. He walked into his garage and started shooting. And it gets into more of that in a minute, but he started shooting. They exit the garage and he still fires more times. And at no point are they perceived, at least right now, as a threat to him. Okay, police later became notified that a 17-year-old was at a hospital in Commerce Township while another was near the hospital. One of those victims later died from his injuries. A neighbor at the time it was not the first occurrence of individuals breaking into the garage, adding they believe the suspected burglars were trying to steal dirt bikes that were kept inside. On Friday, last week, the Oakland County prosecutor announced charges for Knapton. He allegedly used a 9mm semi-automatic handgun and fired 2 shots into the garage through a windowless, locked door as the burglary suspects fled. Knapton then fired 5 more shots before going inside his house. He reloaded his weapon and returned outside. Knapton's attorney said the attempted burglary was the 3rd time that individuals had broken into the garage, leading to the defendant obtaining a motion detector for the property. The question at the heart of the case is whether Knapton had a right to use deadly force when he fired his gun. Prosecutor Karen McDonald said owning a firearm comes with a profound responsibility. Our office worked closely with law enforcement to review the evidence, including the obvious mitigating factors which led us to these charges. We believe the evidence demonstrates this defendant crossed the line by firing outside his home at fleeing persons. His actions not only took a life, but potentially endangered the surrounding community by firing the weapon into the night. During his court appearance, Knapton entered a not guilty plea through his attorney. He also waived a formal reading of the charges. According to his attorney, Knapton has no criminal history. I don't think the facts are the issue. At the issue is the motivation of the possible legal defenses behind those facts. The judge declined to add a 10% provision to the bond. Knapton was also ordered to stay in the state and cannot possess firearms or ammunition. He is allowed to leave for his job. Lustig said he plans to readdress the bond during Knapton's probable cause conference. So this guy, this is iffy what he had done. They really were no threat to him at that moment. He was just mad because this has happened like 3 times and he wanted it to stop. He fired 3 shots, and if they're running away and he's shooting at them, they're really no threat to him. And the lady in the article is right that's a danger to everybody in the neighborhood. If you're blindly shooting into the dark, if you live in a neighborhood, there's a fair chance there's houses across the street that bullet could, get shot into. So, he's got himself an attorney and he's trying to fight this as self-defense, and you can see it from his side that it's self-defense. But he's going to have a hard time with this one because, they weren't a threat to him. They weren't in his house, they were in the garage. And when people decide that they're going to shoot a gun at, someone, or, at people that are breaking into your house, or you perceive them as a threat, at that moment, they weren't a threat, like an imminent threat. And shooting at them like that, even in Michigan, I'm not sure what they're like as far as, how they are with self-defense and concealed carry laws and all their firearm laws. I'm not sure. He's lucky he's not in a state like California, because then he'd really have problems. But even in like Texas, I doubt this one would slide under the rug and be considered self-defense, because he's literally shooting at people that are in no way, shape, or form a threat to him at the time that he's made the shot. If he'd have walked into the garage and confronted them, and then they attacked him in some way, or they, came at him or something, then he would have been a little more justified in the shooting. But he shot without even really seeing them. He just shot into the garage through a door. And if you have a what was it called, a windowless door, or what did they call the door? But he just shot right through the door that was locked. So I don't know if they broke in through a different window, or fired right here, windowless, fired 2 shots into the garage through a windowless locked door. So he didn't even know what he was shooting at. He just fired into his garage because he knew somebody was in there, or suspected somebody was in there. So he just fired into his garage. I mean, you guys can see what you think of this. You know, that's why I read through the whole thing with you, so you could say, leave in the comments what you think is going to happen to this guy. If you think he was justified in firing into a door, firing into his garage, not even knowing who was in there, and then firing at them when they're running away, and then going in and reloading his gun. Like, if they were still around, he would have fired more shots at them or something. But leave in the comments what you think is going to happen to this guy, and we'll follow this one and see what happens. But I feel like, this was November 7th, and the whole ordeal happened on July 8th. So August, September, October, November, 4 months went by before they, decided to bring these charges. And I don't know, it's not looking good for him. But leave in the comments what you think is going to happen to him, or what you think should happen to him. I understand where he's coming from. If it's the third time people have broken into his garage, and it's probably the same group of people each time, you get upset with that, and your patience is not the same as it would be in a different circumstance. So we'll see what happens. I'll follow up on this one in a few months when he starts getting his, court dates, and we'll see if he ends up making bond. He was given a $200,000 cash bond. It doesn't say if he came up with the money or not, but yeah, it's not looking good for him. If you like this kind of stuff, hit that like button and consider subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next one.
If the criminal does not fear the police, a judge, or prison, he must be taught to fear his victims.